Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for being on my podcast, Jagged Parts.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
I love that it's called Jagged Parts.
I know, right? What comes to mind when you hear that?
Your last name.
Yes.
Is that what you were going for?
It's a part of it. It's a part of the branding. But actually, this is a cool story. My initial name for this was the War of Art.
Oh.
Because the art of war,
I know
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it would be cool if I just flip it up and make it the War of Art, because kind of to be an artist is to be a warrior, right? You're constantly, not in a negative way, but you're fighting every day, right? You're struggling, you're just fighting to get shit done and like make a living as an artist, right? Mm-hmm. And I was all ready to move forward with it. I even created a Facebook page, and then I found out there's a very popular book already.
I was about to say.
Yeah, because obviously
there's a very popular book
called the War of Art, and obviously I'm not the first person who thought of that change of words, the play of words, and someone else had that book, and I'm like, I actually looked into it. I'm like, is that a copyright issue? But apparently it's not, as long as the podcast is different from the book.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? I don't want it to be associated with that, because people later on can be like, oh, that I stole the name or whatever, right?
I get it.
And then I was like, what else can I be? And I'm like, oh, Jagged Parts, because it's a the double entendre, like my name and then like parts, roles, and kind of like a bit rougher around the edges, honest, uncut, almost could sound like a travel show. Jagged Parts.
It does. I respect, man, because I like playing with words that sound like my last name too.
Who doesn't, right?
Well, my last name's Doe. Right? And I go dope and adorable all the time. That's what I use all the time.
What would be your rap name, if you could have one?
My rapper name in high school was B Doe, I believe.
Oh yeah?
I did. Well, no, it was a funny story. It was a History 12 project. I did rap about the Great Depression.
Really?
Yes.
Is that online somewhere?
No, it's not. I wish it was, because I don't remember it. I just remember rhyming a bunch of things, and I don't even know. I did something along the lines of rhyming bumblebee with something else, and that's all I remember.
Was it depressing, the rap, or was it kind of like a uplifting rap on the depression?
Well, everyone was laughing.
That's good.
Right. I was also a really quiet kid outside of drama and choir class and band class. I was quite quiet.
So this was your outlet?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. That's where I wanted to start. So where were you born? Where'd you grow up, Brian? How did you get into this? I think you kind of gave us a hint of that last part, but...
Well, I'm born and raised Vancouver, one of the few. Not a lot of people stick around, I guess. But raised here, went to high school here, everything... and I just fell in love with cartoons when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And eventually I learned that they weren't computer-generated voices. Those were actual people.
How old were you when you learned that?
10.
Wow. That's younger than... I only learned that when I was 18.
No, you did not. No way. Absolutely.
No, but way older than 10.
Yeah, it was around 10 or 12, and then I realized that it was a career when I was 13 or 14, and I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? Everyone was saying astronaut or doctor or lawyer, and I didn't know, and then realized, I'd love to do this, because my dad used to read stories to me all the time.
Okay.
And it used to drive me nuts, because he would always put on different, technical difficulties.
It's okay.
He would put the voices for different characters, and I'd be like, Dad, can you just please read this in your normal voice? Don't do anything. Please stop. You're embarrassing me. It was 9 p.m. at night. Yeah. No one else was around, but that's how I felt. And then I thought, well, if he's doing that as a kid, I was like, well, what can I do with my voice?
Yeah.
And I think that was the inspiration moving forward. Actually, I was thinking about this last night. Okay. And then realized that I could do this as a career, and I just kept playing around and practicing, and then eventually, I was lucky. An agent came to my high school. To talk about how to get an agent for on camera.
Okay.
And
was it
I
a performing arts high school?
No.
That's kind of strange that an agent just comes.
Well, she graduated from the high school.
Oh, okay.
And that's why she came to give a little talk. And we were all really interested, so I went. And I asked her, I was like, hey, because at the time I just did theater and just recorded practiced at home on a really, really crappy desktop microphone.
So let's take a step back. You're in high school at this point, and you love doing voices, and you're kind of doing stuff. You're doing theater in high school, but you're not sure yet you can do it professionally.
No.
Right.
No.
How were you doing it by yourself? Just like recording on your phone, or how were you?
Well, I got a slider phone when I was 18. That was my first phone. I don't know about you, but that was mine. I wasn't allowed to have a phone until then. But, I didn't get a smartphone until I was like in my early 20s, I think. But I mean, I'm still technically in my early 20s, I would say. But I downloaded a free recording software called Audacity.
Yes,
that I'm sure everyone's heard of. Yeah,
that's what I used to edit. It's amazing.
This is what you used to edit this?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
It's amazing. It does all the basic stuff.
It does everything for you. Yeah, and that's what I did. And I had like a really crappy desktop microphone.
Right.
That was like probably worth $25. And I just recorded and practiced on that.
Yeah.
And eventually I was lucky enough to stumble upon, because I would put hours. Like I had to wait till my parents were out of the house. I would wait till everyone was out of the house.
Why? Did they not like you doing it, or?
Kind of. I mean, I also just wanted the privacy to be able to practice and play and not have background noises and clunking in the background when I was recording. Because I recorded in the living room.
Right.
That's where the computer was.
Right.
Right. There wasn't really much privacy in that sense. Whenever they left, that's when I would practice.
Right.
But I was lucky enough that an agent came and I asked her after she finished her talk. I said, "What do you do voice work? Like, is that something that you at the agency, maybe not you, but someone else, do they represent actors who happen to do a lot of voice work?"
Yep.
And she said, "Yeah, actually, one of my friends is. Send me your stuff. Do you have anything?" And I was like, "Well, I have these things from, I recorded them, but I don't know." But she's like, "Just send it to me, and I'll forward it off, and we'll see what happens, right?" So like, I had a great theater teacher who helped me like create a resume with like all of my like high school theater credits, and just sent that with like I just mixed a like 45 to a minute second voice sample on Audacity and sent it off. Like I didn't pay.
What was in that sample? Do you remember?
Like a lot of me?
No, but like doing what? Like cartoon voices?
Yeah, character voices.
Okay.
For the most part. And
how did you even know what to do at that age? Like, because now people have an idea of like what a demo should, contain in terms of, but like at that age, what's that?
It's changing.
Right.
It's constantly changing. And it's to the point where I don't even know what, as of right now, I don't even know what the standard is. Okay. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so go on, yeah?
What were we talking about?
Yeah. So you sent her a short demo, your resume. So you sent it off to the agent. What happened from there?
A month went by, and didn't expect to hear anything. And then she got back to me and was like, "Did you want to meet?" And I went, "Okay." And oh my gosh, guys, like, I'm reliving it right now. I was so nervous. I wouldn't stop telling her how nervous I was.
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't stop telling her. I'm like, I'm just really happy to be here. I was like 17.
Yeah.
16 or 17 and didn't really know anything about the industry. All I knew was that I wanted to do this. And she was just really, really nice about it. And she took me on and she started giving me a lot of opportunity and I just started to learn from that.
Right.
And that's kind of how it started, I guess.
Wow. That's actually, that's a great way to start. You got into it fairly young and it sounds like you were with you had a good mentor there. Are you still with the same agency?
No, I left. But it's interesting because you say that and when I did more schooling and more training and took more classes, I was constantly reminded by certain professionals that my path or the way I broke into the industry wasn't like a lot of other performers, if that makes sense.
You want to expand on that? So how is typically the way people...
a lot of people find out about it through, they don't like start out doing voice work. A lot of the times they start out doing theater. And I did a little bit of high school theater, but that was it. They usually do a lot of on-camera work, and then they go, "Oh, there's a voice agent in the agency. I'd like to be doing a bit of radio commercials, TV commercials, through voice, cartoons, animation, video games, all that." But it's yeah, and so that was interesting. So I broke into on camera afterwards.
I see. How long had you been doing voice acting before you started doing on camera?
4 years professionally.
Okay,
I think
wow.
Before I found like an agent that I was really happy with, and we're still together today, and we jive really well, and I feel really safe with her, which is great.
That's great.
I think that's really important. But yeah, man, I don't really. Yeah, I don't.
So tell us a bit about. Let's start off with your voice work. So what kind of stuff have you done? Is there also? You'll have to excuse my ignorance. I'm not that knowledgeable about the voice acting world.
That's fine.
The way I kind of...
One could argue that I'm not either.
What's that? Well, at least more than me. So, I mean, the way I see it, like just from the outside, there's, children's shows, right? How would you call that? Is there a politically correct term for that?
Well, I mean, there's two...
Not a politically correct, but just the proper way of saying
politically
it.
correct,
So,
yes,
like,
darling.
are you a children's show actor? Do you know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah. There's two general types or styles, not really style, but mediums of animation that we do in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And one of which is prelay, which
Okay.
is original animation, where you audition for the role. If you book the job, you record with a group of people, if you're lucky, because usually that's how it is.
Okay.
So you record together like a play reading,
Okay.
or an audio drama, or like a table reading for a film or a play.
Okay.
And then they animate to your performance after you've laid down.
Oh, they animate after?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of the time. Sometimes, I mean, they'll be ahead of the animation, or they'll ask you if you've recorded an episode previous to go back and match lip flaps of the animation.
Okay.
In prelay. Is my understanding of it. I haven't had to do that too much of that. I've done that maybe once or twice. But then the other one is, and prelay animation, original animation is more coveted because you get to work with other actors.
Right.
And you get to play, and you have a lot more creative freedom with that. So like Family Guy, for example, is prelay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Like that would be prelay. Like
Right.
like any kind of DC or Marvel animation would be prelay.
Okay.
Right? Because it's recorded and animated in North America.
Right.
Right. And then on the flip side, you have ADR or dubbing, which
Right.
I'm sure you're familiar
Yes.
with, is where we get animation from another country.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's Japan, although we've gotten all sorts of things, Japan, Korea, France,
Right.
to name a few, and will match and dub over the original language, and will create an English version for it. And that's a lot more difficult, I find.
Yeah? Why?
Because, well, you're by yourself. You're by yourself, and
right.
you have to match lip flaps.
Right.
So you're controlled to you're tied down to what's already there.
Right.
If that makes sense. And I think...
wow, I didn't know that, like, so you're basically saying all the animation that's done in North America is prelay. So, like, when the actors are sitting around, it's not like they're looking at the video of the animated... The animated character doesn't exist yet.
No.
Really?
Not usually, no.
Oh, wow.
I mean, sometimes they'll get you to record... They'll get you to record, like, a scratch track.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they want to cast... Like, so, for example, with a lot of the Disney Pixar animation, what they'll do is they'll go, we want to cast a celebrity, which is how it usually is nowadays.
Right.
And it's been that way, I think, since Robin Williams.
Oh, and
as
Jafar.
the genie.
Okay. And
the genie in Aladdin.
And Jafar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the celebrity can't make or isn't available to record at the time, and the production company wants to get started on the animation, what they'll do is they'll usually hire an actor, a voice actor, to just read as that character in place, so that it's called a scratch track, so that the animators can start drawing.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So that's usually what, and that happens in Vancouver too.
Right.
Right. There have been moments where I've been working on projects where the lead actress, who is Canadian, would be sick, or like an actor would be sick, and they already wanted to get started on the animation, so they would actually just get someone else to read. And sometimes too, I mean, I worked on My Little Pony, Equestria Girls, and the lead actress is based out of LA.
Okay.
Tara Strong. So I never got to meet her, and I never worked with her, but I still had to record all of my lines. Everyone else in Vancouver who was recording with me, one of them would just read her lines for me in the scene so that I would have someone to work off of.
Right.
Right. And that's not really a scratch track. That's just a kind actor helping me out.
Right.
But yeah.
So for a show like Archer, right?
Yep.
So again, it's when the actors are doing the work, there's no image at that point.
Usually
they're just like in a recording studio. They do a table read and they go into a recording studio and then they just act without like an image guiding them.
Yeah.
Cool. I did not know that. And what about like children's animation? Is it the same for that?
It would be the same. Would usually be the same.
Wow.
Unless it's done, like for example, anime. Like if it's done in another country, in another language, they'll come over.
Right.
And we'll have to match the picture that way.
Right.
Unless if you're on like episode 5 and they've already animated or are almost finished animating episode 3 of a prelay animated series, they may ask you to go, hey, we changed this line, or we need some sort of like effort sound in this moment of the animation. Can you just like dub over that really quickly in pickups? And that would just be a pickup session.
I see. Okay. Wow, I did not know that. So, have you done a ton of video game work?
A few.
Yeah. Which ones? Like, can you talk about which ones you've been in?
I'm on one. I can't talk about it right now.
Okay. No problem.
But yeah, I'm excited about it. But I can't say anything. You sign your contracts in blood when you work on those. But I've done a bit through Blackbird. I did a bit of Homeworld.
Okay.
Homeworld Deserts of Karak. And that's really it. I mean, I worked on an anime series, a dub series that aired on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Called LBX, and there was a video game for the Nintendo DS that we also dubbed over and recorded.
Right.
But that's really it in terms of video games. I mean, I've only done a couple here and there.
For video game though, is it the same? Is it like a pre-lap you said?
It would depend. It would depend on like so the LBX video game that I did like forever ago. The animation was there. Okay. So we would just dub over that.
Right.
Whereas, for example, the other thing that I did for Homeworld there wasn't anything to my knowledge. Like I didn't get to see anything. I just recorded everything, and then they just, I guess, fit it in.
Right. Yeah, video games is kind of going into the whole mocap industry as well, right?
Yeah.
I've auditioned for a bunch of like big ones in Toronto, Ubisoft, like pretty much all of them,
Ubisoft
right?
Does a lot in Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, like you know which ones I'm talking about. They're just so cool because it's like when you audition, it's just like any other audition. When you get the role, it's like acting just with sensors and a green screen, right?
Yep.
So that's like such an exciting world now. And those video games, like if you get on like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, you're gonna become like everyone in the world will know you. Because like if you're a big character, like you because those big video games have such a far reach globally.
Yeah, they do.
Right. I would argue to say like if you're in Assassin's Creed or Far Cry as a big character, you will probably get more seen than on a TV show. Globally. Yeah,
well, I mean, because that's the thing, right? I think they were saying video games are now like a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It is, and
Don't
now you
quote
have
me on that, but that's...
now you have what's it called, esports too, right?
Yeah, yep.
Which is crazy. It's like I think it's top 10 in North America in terms of like the most watched sports.
That's
right,
amazing.
and people
it's on TSN now, is what I'm told.
Is it? And
that's
listen,
what I'm told.
Listen, like this is my philosophy on this and everything. You can kind of sit back and judge and cross your arms like, oh, it's bullshit, but it's just where we're headed. VR, this stuff. Voice is a part of it, I think, as well. 20% of Google searches are voice-based now. Did you know that? 20% of Google searches are voice-based. So you pick up your phone like, hey, Google, can you find an Indian restaurant on Kingsway that's open at 11 p.m.?
I don't do that.
I use it all the time.
Wow, okay.
And Google Home now has John Legend that you can use as your voice. So John Legend is the voice of your home.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, I found like at one point a way to get my phone to tell me if I had a message by using Jarvis from Iron Man. Jarvis. Yeah. So, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really.
I mean,
okay.
That's what I think about it, right? Like you have to cut your own. It's the same thing as like people don't like change, right? Like back when like movies were like no voice in movies, it was all just images. Like and then talkies came around, like the movie The Artist, right? At first, people were like, "You can't have movies with people talking. That's not how we do it."
No,
right? Yeah, it's just evolution, man. You gotta, stuff moves.
Well, and I find, and just on the esports topic, I just find that so interesting that people are against that because, like, I remember, like, hearing stories, because I have friends who go to anime conventions and dress up.
Mm-hmm.
They cosplay.
Right.
That's what it's called. And
Yes.
and so they'll dress up and they'll pose for pictures, and they really enjoy it. It makes them happy and they love it. And some people on the street publicly just give them, or used to give them, a lot of just hate towards it in a way. And I'm just thinking, well, here's the thing though, is like, you see full-grown men with their shirts off at Canucks games, or BC Lions games, or Whitecap games. So what's the difference?
Exactly.
What's the difference? Anyways,
I agree. It's a part of this whole. We live in a world that, like, it's a lot of it is like virtue signaling, right? Showing I'm better than you, or like the same way people diss social media. And one of my favorite quotes on this is, "Technology has not changed us. Technology has revealed us." Technology does not change who you are. It just reveals who you are. That's why all this shit that's been happening in the world has just come out more. All the abuse and everything. It's always happened, right? It's just way harder to hide anything like that now, right? And you know, like the way I look at it, like if someone is into cosplay or whatever, as long as it's not harming anyone, like there's no harm in anything, right? Yeah. If that's what they enjoy doing. And
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a lot more creative than body paint on. Anyways,
exactly. It's like, you know, some people are, like you said, some people are really into sports and they geek out on that, right? Like, I'm not into hockey, but that doesn't mean that I judge someone who is.
Well,
right?
I'm into hockey, so
you know,
it's fine.
I mean, I like soccer, I like boxing. It's just like everyone has their thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a part of the whole thing, I find. Cool. So you've been in a bunch of like animated shows. Anything that's kind of stood out for you in terms of a memorable experience? I'm sure all of them have been memorable, but something that's just like sticks out.
What sticks out? The moments. This is pretty selfish, but that's okay. Is the moments where I realize that I'm actually doing this for a living is pretty cool. I mean, I remember. This isn't like anything to do with like work that I've like projects that I've worked on, but I remember going to a voiceover commercial audition, and then I had to jet over to another studio to record a cartoon, an anime series called World Trigger that was really cool to work on. It was like one of my first like big things.
Okay.
And I was freaking out because I didn't know if I would be able to get to the recording session on time after the audition, because I was like, okay, my call time at the audition is 9:30. And my recording session is at 10. So I'm just going to show up at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And just show up early, and they'll just get me in early, and I'll just jet to the session, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, I was the first one of the day. I was at 9:30, and I'm like, okay, great. So how am I going to do this? And I'm like, and I do the audition. It was fine, and I jet over, and I'm losing my mind, and I'm freaking out. And as I'm freaking out, I realize, wait, this is actually what I get to do. So stop freaking out. And I still freak out, but I'm a lot better at it now.
I know, man.
I'm just trying to celebrate the victories now, man. I'm not really focused on anything else.
I think that's the way to go. I mean, to make a living as an artist is an accomplishment, and that's, if you're able to do that, that's gold, man. Hey, what's the alternative? You could be a coal miner too. Yeah. When people complain about this, I'm like, your job is to go on set and act. Don't have a sense of entitlement that you should be given the role. You could be a coal miner too. You could be like, there's a lot of shitty jobs out there. Not that being a coal miner is a shitty job, if anyone's a coal miner, but there are harder jobs than being in the arts.
No, you get paid to play.
Exactly,
is what you do.
And I think it's like nobody's entitled to a career in the arts. That's what I've realized.
No,
right?
You're right.
People,
I agree with that.
Compared to other people maybe who have more success, and they're like, well, why not me or whatever. Nobody's entitled it. If you can make a living as a working artist, that's the goal, right?
Yeah. I mean, like on that note, it just popped into my head. I just think this is so funny. I worked on a television series on camera. Yeah. It was like my first thing. It didn't have a line. And I'm not going to mention the show. I mean, I got cut. I didn't even make the final thing, which is okay. But I was working with another actor who also had like one line or something along those lines. And he was asking me, so what do you do? I'm like, well, I do a lot of voice work, and that's kind of what I do for work, and it's great. And he's like, oh, that's amazing. And like, he asked me, or I may have mentioned it, I don't remember how the exchange went about, but he said something along the lines of, wait, you guys don't get trailers? And I was like, no.
Is that the biggest thing for you?
No, it's not. Like, because then it was like, and then it became about like, well, I worked on this project and I got a really big trailer because I had like more lines, and I'm just kind of like, why do you want to be in a trailer or like in holding? Like, there's no holding in voiceover. You just show up and you hang out with the other actors if they're there in the same studio, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's great, and it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, like, to be honest with you, my honest opinion on this is that's actually, you could be a big star. You could be like a big star. But if you have that mentality, to me, that's a loser mentality. And I'll tell you why. You will lose long term. Because that's what that's telling me, is that you're in it for the wrong reason. You're in it for validation. Because you have a big trailer, you post a picture on social media to show that you're doing better than someone else. Which means you're basically seeking validation, which means you will never really be able to reach your true level as an artist, because a true artist doesn't give a fuck about other people's point of view.
Okay, so I can swear on your show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Every episode has an E rating on my on iTunes. So Fantastic. To me, right, it's like this is something I've only realized in the last few years, because I think every artist goes through this, right? Because it is a tough industry, and you do want validation, but then your best work usually always happens when you respect what everyone thinks, but you don't care about it so much. It's more about your own like barometer for like, oh, was that good? Can I do better or not, right? Yeah. And if you're in it for those kinds of things, you might get those, but then you're just like, it's just the motivation to do what you're doing is not what could lead you to be performing at your highest level, right? Mm-hmm. I look at it like this. Like I think all artists should study athletes.
Yeah,
it's very similar. Right?
I've heard that a lot.
And look at like the top athletes. Pick your sport, but like my two favorite sports are football, the real football, not soccer, and boxing. Combat sports is just true.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's great.
You use your feet, so it's football. Yeah. The other one, you use your hands, right? So the two athletes that I follow the most are Floyd Mayweather and Cristiano Ronaldo. Right? If you look at Ronaldo, he has won like 5 Champions League trophies. He was at Real Madrid for 9 years. I don't know if you follow that at all.
No.
But so Real Madrid is the biggest club in the world. Yeah. Okay. And he won 3 back-to-back Champions League. And just this summer, he moved to a different club. Why? He's 33. He could just end his career there. And he's like, in one of his interviews, he said, whenever he gets too comfortable, he needs a new challenge. Right?
That is true.
To him, the most important thing is every day be the best he can, and he loves it. He doesn't need more money. He's like, I think, the most followed person on the internet in general. Like, right? He doesn't need anything, but he's just driven to be the best he can. To me, that's a winner mentality. A lot of people get to a certain level and then they settle because they're doing it for different reasons. Yeah. But someone who's doing it just because they love to do it, and they're just competing with themselves, and they just want, there's no end, right? They just want to get better and better and better and better. And that hunger and that drive is there. And you see it in all the top athletes, whether it's LeBron James. He doesn't need to prove anything else to anyone.
No, he doesn't. Right?
Or I don't know hockey, so I'm not going to comment on it, but I'm sure Wayne Gretzky was kind of like that. Or, Sidney Crosby or whoever the top player now is, like, they're just competing with themselves, right?
It's so interesting that you say that. Because I was also, again, thinking about something last night I don't use the term winner mentality, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah. I don't really have a term for it. But when I was in school, I did a couple of full-time programs in acting, and I had a teacher when I was like 18 or 19 years old who, if this person my teacher knew that I wasn't going to show up, or found out that I wasn't going to show up, or if I wasn't going to go, because back then I was like, oh, I don't know if I should go, and I don't know if I really want to do this, and I just, I'm just too scared to get out of bed this morning, or whatever excuse that I would come up with in my head, and I just would stay in bed, and this teacher would call me every morning that I didn't show up to class. They'd call me every morning. They would get
out of bed.
They would get my number from the front desk, from the office, and they would call me and be like, "Where are you?"
Wow.
Show up. And they're like, or it wasn't even that. It was just, how long until you get here?
Yeah.
Versus, when are you coming?
Mm-hmm.
Just, or how long, how long, what's your ETA?
Yeah.
Because you're coming.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it. And I was like, okay. And then it was interesting because by the end of that program, like, I mean, I missed days and I was late.
Yeah.
But I got out of bed.
Yeah.
And that started to mold a bit more discipline and a bit more focus.
I think discipline is a huge thing, right? Especially
in this business. Like,
I think that's
no one's going to get it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to get it yourself.
For sure. And, you just got to keep chugging away, and you might not see results right away, but just discipline, right? Just keep at it. On that, actually, have you had, like, it sounds like that was one of your mentors or
I've
provided
been
mentorship?
really lucky.
Because that's a challenge. It's hard to find good mentors in this industry, I find.
Oh.
Maybe you've
I've been really lucky.
Yeah?
I've had a bunch.
Oh, great.
I have, and I keep in touch with all of them.
Great. How do you, does it kind of just happen organically, or, do you seek them out?
I think most of the time it happens organically.
Okay.
And there was one time where I, like, put out the feelers and just put it out into the universe, and I found someone. Okay. Or they found me more so. But a lot of the times I've just been really lucky. Like, and it's interesting. Most of my mentors are women.
Okay.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
The people that I feel the most safe with and the most just give me the courage to just speak my truth have been women.
Right.
There's been a couple of men too,
sure.
right, that are just amazing, but especially starting out.
Yeah.
Like the teacher that would call every morning was a woman.
Right. Wow.
Right. Would call me every morning, and it started hammering in the just that mentality. Like, I remember that same teacher was like, okay, the next thing that we're going to be doing is you're going to journal about your experience based off of the last exercise that you did or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I did, like, I put like 5 minutes into it, and I was like, I left the room and was on my phone, and she like came out of the theater and was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm done. And she looked at me and she was like, well, then why aren't you being better? Mm-hmm. And I was like,
right.
As a 19-year-old, just great, and it just and that voice in my head all the time. It's in my head all the time.
Yeah, and that becomes your inner voice, right?
Yeah,
even when she's not there. That's amazing. I personally have had, like, I wish I could have had more mentors. I felt like I've just been swimming on my own a lot, and then I latch on to some people that it's a weird thing. But I really feel like there's a lack of mentorship in this industry. Sometimes maybe it's like actors compete with each other, so I don't know. There's a weird thing. Right. By the way, just watched it.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I know you're passionate. You're passionate getting into it.
Just slamming tables and we'll flip the table over. We'll get it all on tape right over there.
It's all good. So yeah,
call the union, dude.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Ask them. I mean, there was a thing that I was told. Oh, about.
No. Like, so just to take a step back, I've had amazing mentors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said I have no mentors.
No. I've had amazing mentors. It's just been this. I did not find someone when I was starting out.
Oh, I see.
And it's just like it was. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I definitely, and not even just talk about myself. I do feel there's a lack of mentorship, or somehow maybe younger actors don't know that it's very important to have a mentor, or
Yeah.
Because it is, especially when you're younger, it's a tough industry. There's a lot of rejection.
Well, and it's lonely.
Yeah, it's lonely.
It's lonely as fuck, man. Like,
exactly.
It is.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I get that, my biggest thing, and especially lately, this has been an amazing year for me just personally, because I've just been focusing on, more so than work, I've been focusing more on just living my life and experiencing life, and that's just what's going to fuel my work. But and I knew that when I was younger, but I didn't actually viscerally understand that. I understood that intellectually. Right. And there's a difference, right? So, but I forget where I'm going with this, but...
go ahead.
Well, I'm just lucky to have a great support group. Like I've surrounded myself with some amazing people, and that I can my rule is, and don't abuse this, but my rule has always been like, who can you call drunk at 2 a.m?
Yeah.
Like crying.
Yeah.
Who can you?
Yeah.
You may not actually end up doing that, but like who will
take your call? That's a good litmus test. Yeah, everyone wants to be there when you're doing well, or when they think maybe they can get something from you, or times are good, right? That's been a lesson for me, a huge lesson the last few years, especially because I run a few businesses now in the industry, and
some great businesses, I might add.
Oh, thank you.
Shameless plug.
You've been a client.
Yes. Well, I taped for you just really quickly because I taped for you in Toronto and I was freaking out. I had to do 2 like 6-page auditions back to back. Yeah. I was in Toronto. I knew no one.
Yeah.
And then was referred to you by some friends in Vancouver.
Right.
Jeb Beach, actually, who's amazing.
Yes.
And that's how we met.
Yeah. And now we're here.
And now you're in Vancouver.
And now I'm in Vancouver.
Here you've come to the dark side.
Yeah.
The better side.
The best coast is what they call it, right?
The best coast.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I think for me, personally, it was just, in general, I'm not a naive person, but I'm a diehard optimist. I always see the bright side, right?
Great.
So I always see the best in people, but I get taken advantage of. I feel like I've been taken advantage of, but just because I trust people with it, and especially when you're running a business and people need favors or whatever, then you realize maybe it's not a two-way street. You do a lot of favors, but then people don't do you favors, right? And they're never there for you when you have that last minute audition or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just been a learning lesson, and I think what I've realized is like to separate friendship from business. You have to realize who's a real friend and who's just maybe a colleague, and that's fine. Not everyone becomes a real friend. Becomes like a true deep friend or mentor, right?
Yeah.
So and that's fine. You just have to know your own boundaries, and
that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge. Boundaries are huge.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about. So you do both voice acting and on-camera acting.
Yeah.
What are some of the differences and similarities between the two?
Well, the obvious one is you're behind a microphone or in front of a camera, but I'm just being a smartass now. But
well, technically, there is a microphone when you're on camera.
There is. There just isn't a camera. Yeah. Well, can you see? Can you tell how much experience I have on camera? Or we're just gonna mention that really quickly. No, I'm fine. But I think at the end of the day, and this is something that I'm still trying to. Again, I used the word visceral earlier, but viscerally understand versus intellectually understand, which is at the end of the day, it's all about the acting.
Yes.
Right. That's all that matters. And you watch the actors if you're doing a pre-lay session, and I'm just amazed at first of all, a privilege to work with those guys. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. And I look up to each and every one of them, frankly, because they're just so good at what they do. But a lot of people get surprised at how physical it can be in the studio, like how physical you can get. Well, some people, when they play a character in animation, did you ever see Logan? Have you seen Logan?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen the where Hugh Jackman is doing ADR for that big fight scene where he's running through the woods?
You mean behind the scenes?
Like post-production, like he's in
No, I did not watch that, no.
Okay, well, I'll send it to you, because basically what he's doing is he's standing there in front of the microphone, he's watching the picture, but he's physically there.
Right.
And he's physically swinging his arms all over the place. Yeah. And he's screaming, and he's doing all of the fights.
I know the scene you're talking about, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it's like in a way. It's an oversimplification, I think. Yeah. But the difference more so in animation and camera, I find, is just energy. Yeah. Your energy is a bit more heightened because you only have your voice to tell the story. Right. But at the end of the day, I've also learned too that if you just have a lot of energy for the sake of having a lot of energy and not actually know why you're saying what you're saying, which is just actor stuff, right? Yeah. It's gonna fall flat, and you're not gonna. It's gonna suck.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have very limited experience doing. My experience is basically ADR, and I know from ADR you have to fully act, otherwise it's not going to work. Right?
It's not going to sound good. Yeah.
The only difference is they're not taking your footage. They're just using the audio, but it all has to be there, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you're doing like character voices, so maybe tell us a bit about the differences between doing, like just like a regular voice, and then when you're doing character voices. Because character voices is a slightly different ballgame. Not everyone can do it. Yeah. Do you need training for that? Like, I feel like maybe you can do it naturally. Some people just have that natural gift. They make, weird noises.
I do.
But I do, though. Like, I actually do. Like, I do it all the time. Like, that's, like, I could just do that. Like, I could just sit in the corner over there and I would do that and I'd be entertained. Like, that's
what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, can
you learn how to do that?
I think the only way, I mean, you can study voice.
Yeah.
Like placement and breath and physical alignment and all of that stuff that'll help with that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, and I put myself in this category too, because when I was a kid, I didn't have any money to take classes.
Yeah.
Right. I just recorded in my parents' like living room when they weren't around.
Right.
So what I did was I just listened to everything and copied everything. And that's how I developed.
What did you
listen to voice demos that I found online, cartoons, the radio, movies. I try to imitate people.
Right.
I still do that.
Right.
Like it's really hard to watch stuff with me sometimes. Like my family has to shut me up because I'm just constantly going, "Oh, how would that sound? Oh, that's interesting. How can I try something?" And I'm always playing around with that, which is actually really freeing. I'm just gonna add, because I don't actually put like, okay, today's schedule, I'm going to put like 2 hours aside to like practice character voices or vocal exploration. I don't do that. I just do it all the time.
All the time.
And there's a lot more freedom of that, because if I get super anxious.
Yeah.
So we're just experiencing a couple of technical difficulties. We'll be back in a shortly.
Your voice blew my pop filter away.
Well, it's quite powerful, right? I knew we were going to get to this.
Man,
where I just start going off the rocker. I'm flipping over tables.
So yeah, go on. So you just it's just part of your DNA.
Well, I mean, I just loved it ever since I was a kid, and I never really. I mean, you kind of. I mean, still be a mature human being, but like you never really grow up.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm totally fine with, like, in broad daylight, singing or playing around vocally.
Yeah.
With my voice, seeing what else I can do. I'm just, that's what fascinates me.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it all the time.
Right.
And that's kind of how
So, for example, I try to do that sometimes for fun.
And I couldn't do that when I was a kid. I tried to do that, and I did it for
Who
like
was that?
half
Who
a
was
second.
that, like an imitation or emulation?
Like, I used to watch a lot of Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
So like all the orcs and stuff. Like
I would do something like this.
And I can sustain that now.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I couldn't sustain it. I would go down there, and then I'd hear like and I'd stop.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't talk for like a day.
Right.
And
but now you can do it.
But now I can sustain it, and I can,
Right.
and it's actually on my voice demo now, and
wow.
and I'm totally fine with doing it in a session. I can sustain it.
So it sounds like there's a mix between your just natural passion and doing it all the time because you love it, and then learning the technicalities of it and how to do it on a more sustainable level, right? Without injuring your voice. Is that something you learned technically?
I don't really know how I technically, like, I wouldn't be able to explain to you how I technically made it so that I can sustain that. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you.
Okay.
But I do think, and I may be totally wrong, but I think there is some truth to it, because this is what I did, which was think of your voice as a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes.
Right.
So if I slowly but surely, I may be totally wrong, but like I slowly but surely, if I just keep practicing bit by bit, eventually I'll be able to sustain it.
Okay.
Right. But that doesn't happen overnight. That took me, like, I was only comfortable doing that. And again, I only do that more as a party trick than like an actual thing.
Sure.
A lot of what I get cast for is just me.
Right.
Right. Which is why it's just all in the acting.
Like no character voices, you mean?
No, it's just me.
Yeah.
And it's a different character, but it's more or less my voice.
Yeah.
It may be slightly pitched up.
Right.
Maybe slightly more placed in the eyes, and maybe a bit more in the throat.
What kind of characters do you get cast as?
Teenagers.
Yeah.
Because that's really it. I mean, lately though, I hope I'm not blowing out your microphone. But lately, there hasn't been a lot, or at least in my experience, there hasn't been a lot of teenage roles.
Yeah.
So I've been reading for a lot of 8 to 10-year-old boys.
Oh wow.
And I just
what does
got
your
one.
8 to 10-year-old boy sound like?
Well, like, you know, I could probably do something. Like, all you really need to do is that. But, like, I could, like,
I actually answer telemarketers this way. Or, like, friends. Like, I'll get my friend to be like, oh, so your friend's calling you. Give me your phone.
Yeah.
and, like, I'll actually, like, try to, who is this? Oh, well, I just found this phone on the floor.
Damn, man. That's.
And
I want to have you around.
And
when
I'll just.
someone-
That's
when
what
some
I
of my
do.
friends call.
But it's fun. I mean, I do that to family members, and they know it's me now.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still an opportunity to play, so why not?
Yeah.
Why waste that opportunity?
Absolutely. So, as for someone who's maybe wants to get more into voice acting or explore it, let's start off with someone who does have acting experience. How do they start off? Any classes you recommend? What do you recommend?
Well, I mean, if you have an agent, I would recommend asking them if they have a voice agent.
Yeah.
Through the agency. And
But
seeing
would a
if you can
voice
get-
agent pick you up if you don't have experience in voice?
I mean, I don't know if that. Well, I'm
I mean, I know
nervous,
there's
so
no.
I'm-
Yeah.
but like,
so just to give you an example, right? Just to put some context around this, like the only thing I audition for voice is, well, first of all, motion capture.
Yeah.
Because that's not technically just voice. Audiobooks have started getting a few audiobook auditions recently.
right.
But that's just
Those
me.
are incredibly difficult to do, by the way.
Yeah.
They take forever. And again, there's nothing wrong with doing audiobooks.
Yeah.
Audiobooks are great.
Yeah.
You know, and like I'd be more than happy. Like I'm editing
Yeah.
a friend's audiobook right now.
Okay.
And it's taking me hours to edit.
Wow.
Like it's taking me a really long time, and it's okay. It's great work.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I've heard that the pay is good.
Yeah.
And it's fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone who doesn't really like to spend 6 hours a day editing,
But then why would
It's
you don't have
just-
to edit yourself if you?
I'm
send
doing
in
it
a-
as a favor for a friend.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm doing it, right?
No, but I
So,
mean, if you were as an actor doing an audiobook, you wouldn't have to do any of that.
if you do it from your home.
But
You could-
edit
you could
yourself.
you could hire an engineer to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a whole. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to touch on this too. I mean, we're kind of going all over the place. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's okay with you.
Yeah.
but that's how I am. But I'm constantly opening new tabs, and my friends are constantly telling me, "Just close the tabs. I don't know what you're talking about now." But there's also online voice work,
Okay.
right? Where like you go and you pay like I don't know $200 to $400 a year on these pay-to-play sites like Voice123 and Voices.com.
Oh.
And you just create your own little home studio setup, which is
Okay.
what I've done. And you just audition online for stuff. And the problem is there's no really set rate
Right.
for it.
It's all freelance.
But it's all freelance, and it's like you meet clients in like Israel. Like I did some ESL for a guy in Israel.
Oh wow. There's no union for voice acting, right? It's just UBCB Actra, or is there some-
UBCB Actra does have like animation agreements and stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
they do.
okay,
They
okay,
do.
cool. Okay, so back to my original question.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does someone who wants to get more involved or even explore voice work to see if it could be a good fit for them go about it?
If they want to explore, I mean, I still think talking to and asking if there is a voice agent
Okay.
at the agency, the agent is probably going to want to see some sort of voice demo for the of a sample of your voice and like what you're capable of and your range and stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of classes, I mean, there's really only one place that people recommend in town, and that's On the Mic Training.
Yeah.
And
They're
great.
always sold out too, right? Seems like they're constantly sold out.
They sell it fast.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of classes right now that are still open, to my understanding. But,
Okay.
But probably by the time this airs, it'll be full.
Yeah.
But so they're great. I think auditing. I just audit their class.
Yeah.
Because it's also really cool to just experience what they have, which is just a fantastic industry standard studio
Right.
that they have
Right.
that you study in.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So you get that experience as well. And even just auditing is a great way to just experience that. And if you want to take classes, because their classes are,
Right.
you know, they're classes, they're acting classes, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, I mean, audit first, but they're great.
Right.
There's
On the mic training, right? Yeah, I've heard a lot about them
They're
too.
great. They're amazing.
Cool.
I studied with them when I was 16.
Oh yeah. So, and I think they also have a class where you do a 6-week class and then they cut a demo at the end or something, right?
Do they have
that?
My understanding is they cut a sample. I mean, you'd have to ask their program coordinator, who's amazing.
Right.
About that, I don't really know too much about that.
Okay.
But it would be more of just like, we'll edit together like a sample of what you've done in class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's better personally to book time with On the Mic or whoever you want to outside of class and just have a day where you just record your demo material.
Right.
Is my opinion. But again, that's how I like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other people are different.
Yeah, everyone has to kind of find their way, right? But On the Mic definitely, I think, is a great place to go to.
They're
yeah.
amazing.
Cool. All right. Something I'd kind of like to end the podcast episode on is I love to ask my guests some of their unique challenges, failures, setbacks, opportunities that they really took that really maybe shook you up for a while, and then you took the time to reflect on it and pull out some valuable lessons and really grew from.
I mean, first of all, I think everyone should ask themselves this question, which is, if you were to tell your 16-year-old version of yourself what you would be doing and accomplishing by the time you're like 25, 30 or whatever, would 16-year-old you believe you?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, in the sense that there's no way that I will have or will accomplish those things, then you're doing something right.
Okay.
Because one of the things that grounds me is I just have, okay, well, if you asked 16-year-old Brian, and if you were to go back in time and say, listen, this is what you're going to accomplish by the time you're 25, he wouldn't believe me.
Right.
That's a win as it is. I mean, I think if I were to go back and to tell my younger self what I would,
what would you tell your younger self?
Embrace the process.
Yeah.
And be patient.
Right.
I'm still not patient. I mean, lately I've just been focused on living my life, and that's what's fueled my work. But I think focus on just growing and embrace the process and not get so caught up in what everyone else is doing around you. And don't worry too much about making people happy, because that's the thing, that's my thing, is I love making people happy. I'm a pleaser. That's who I am, but I also have to, because of that, set boundaries accordingly. And I think just don't let any of that get in the way, because when I was a kid, I desperately wanted to prove to everyone that I could do this. That was my thing. And because of that, I pushed a lot of people away when I was starting out. Like I was I was a horrible scene partner. I just didn't want to rehearse. I didn't want to rehearse when I was in class.
Why?
Like outside of class, because I felt like I had to do this alone.
Like, because you had to prove people?
Like I felt like I had to prove to myself, family members, my peers, or whatever, that I had to do it on my own, that I could do it. And I felt when I was younger that a lot of people were against me. So I just kind of tricked myself into thinking that everyone was against me, which wasn't true.
You against the world.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Yeah. Everyone has felt that at some point.
So I think just like relax.
Yeah.
And just take it easy.
100%. Listen, I've had that feeling too. I think it's like, it's a normal thing to feel, but then to just realize that the system is not rigged against you.
It's not.
People are busy just trying to do their own shit.
We think
about
take it personally.
Yeah, we think about ourselves way more than anyone else thinks about us, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the system is not rigged against you. It's just do what you want to do, relax, have a good time, and patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patience.
Be patient, you know.
Any deep moments of truth or moments where you thought about quitting? If you say no, I'm gonna not believe
Every
it.
fucking week.
Okay, good. Because some people are like, no, I'm like, really? I think about it every month.
I want to bang my head against a wall every day, almost every day, dude.
So tell me about one time where you almost did and what made you not.
I think I'm laughing because I think that I think I made it so that, and I don't know what 18-year-old Brian was thinking, but I think I made it so that if I wanted to quit, there was no other way I could like live. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I made it so that this is like the focus and this is plan A and there is no plan B and that's it.
Yeah.
So when you don't want to get up in the morning, well, guess what? You have to, because you have no fallback, so you have to work.
Yeah.
Or just put the work in some way.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to bash my head against a wall every week, man. Like I don't.
And what brings you back? Is this a mentor who gives you some positive
that
words?
helps.
Yeah.
Support group helps. That's great. Going for coffee with friends to talk about that sort of thing. I think just knowing that you're not alone in this.
Right.
Because it can be a very lonely business and a lonely lifestyle in a sense. It can be anyways. But I mean, I think, like, I remind myself why I'm doing it, and I think I didn't know when I was a kid, because understand that, like, I wanted to just be a voice actor, cartoon guy when I was a kid. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when I started taking acting classes and I started to really study and immerse in the work, I just fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. And that's what keeps me going, I think.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the fact that I love human beings and or just the human condition in life, and I'm really just curious about life and observing and being present and all of those things, if I didn't have that and I just had my love for cartoons and like making silly, I mean, it's more than silly voices, but like exploring with my voice and stuff, I don't think I'd be doing this still.
Right.
Because it's way too difficult otherwise. And also figuring out like why you do it and reminding yourself why you do it. So like, what do I do? I mean, I do it because I had an interesting moment. I did a fan convention last year in September.
Okay.
I did.
Was it for a specific show?
It was for My Little Pony.
Okay.
It was for My Little Pony. It was called Baroni Can, and I just went and you intellectually understand, like, because you're always told, and you hear it all the time in interviews, how like, oh, I'm so lucky and privileged to, my work helps other people get through their day, or whatever, like something in that vein.
Yep.
This is all very fresh in my mind right now, but like, and I went, okay, yeah, that's possible, but I never thought that was something that I could do. So when I saw it firsthand, and again, I'm not like a big character on the show. I'm in the Equestria Girls franchise, which is like a parallel dimension to the pony world. So I'm not actually a pony. I'm a human. Okay. But that's a long story, but which is fine. But I didn't realize how much, like, I'm on Twitter and stuff, but like I didn't realize how much of an effect this work actually had. I intellectually understood that, oh yeah, it totally does, but not
Someone came up to you and said something?
Lots of people did.
Yeah. Something that like, personally touched you? Like,
well, just like, thanks for your work, man. Like, thank you. You know, and like, I remember there was a guy from like Brazil. He asked me to sign his flag. Wow. It was like, I came all the way from Brazil, or I don't remember if it was like, I don't remember exactly where he was from, just to meet you guys. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was just really cool. And so I mean, just knowing that, like, even if you don't know, your work does help people. And if your work helps one person get through their day, then you've done your job. You don't have to affect like millions of people. If you just affect one or two people, then that just satisfies me. And I think that also too, if I may also say, I'm also very aware that if I didn't love this and do this for me, I also wouldn't be doing it. Because that's also really important. You have to do it for you.
It is.
You know, and you have to love it. And I'm just constantly curious about life. And I think my need to be as authentic and real and as honest as possible, that's what fuels me to keep going, if that makes sense. Like and it's really hard because like that's, and in that way, personal and professional kind of get blurred, if that makes sense. You know, because like my personal fuels my professional,
right?
Or at least fuels the artistic,
right?
I could keep going, but we're running out of time, I think.
Thank you very much, Brando.
Thank you, sir.
You did not break my table. I'm happy. Because it's technically not my table.
Right? It's not. No. Well,
it's not my house either.
Yeah. It's a nice house, dude.
Yeah. Thank you for being on my show.
Yeah, man. This was fun.